Hi again. The markets have moved. As you can see, staying in has surged ahead. And I would say that's game, set, and match. 51.5 million has been bet now. And we look at the familiar probability chart. So we can see, the odds have just been in free fall. So even though you'll only get paid, you'll only make 29% or roughly 30% profit. That's what everyone is betting on. Nearly 40 million has been bet backing, saying that the vote is going to, Britain's going to remain in the EU, even though it's always been odds on. So people have not, even though the bookies are offering excellent odds to bet that there's going to be a leave. No one is willing to put any money on it because they all know it's not going to happen. So again, if we invert the probabilities, we can see the percentage likelihood that the vote is going to be a remain, and it has shot right back up to nearly 80%, nearly the highest that it's been. Now, there are still a few days left. There could be effects due to, the assassination. So there would be perhaps, a little push towards the Remain vote there. We can't predict the future. So even though I'm calling a victory, we don't have 100% probability. It hasn't actually, we don't know whether something dramatic is going to happen the day before or even on the day of the vote, which will have a significant impact. Because it is going to be close. I mean, I'm not expecting that 80% of people are going to vote Remain. I'd more think it'll be still at the 53-ish, which is pretty close. But the move has been up. Before it was unclear whether it's going to be. It looked like it was potentially in a downtrend. I would want this probability to actually reach 80. I'm not sure whether this is higher than this peak. If it is, then we've seen a higher high. So then that's a signal that we're in a bullish market. Okay, so that's the main signal, main piece of information. My bet has always been on the actual percent. Now I've changed it a bit. So now I can cash out and make a profit, which was, remember, I had bet €100. It was down to actually €80 I could cash out. Then it was kind of recovering. This is the first time that I can cash out and just take the money. I have added a little bit to the 50 to 55. I think I added €5 because the odds are falling. I got 2.72. It's now 2.64. When I initially bet, I got 3.25. So that is the benefit of betting earlier. It's riskier. That's why the odds are, you're getting compensated for the greater risk. I'm happy enough with this. I don't know whether I want to add 5 more. It doesn't really matter. I mean, this is more a test I haven't fully developed, my framework, how I process, how I price referenda, this kind of thing. So I'm not going to leap in with a big bet when it's kind of experimental. So I had been aware of the fact that the betting markets seem to predict better than the polling and all that kind of stuff. And I'd heard about social media and how well it had done, but I didn't know those techniques. So I wanted to apply those ideas and techniques to the Brexit referendum, which is what this series of videos has been about. So I will have one final video in this series, probably the day before or the morning of the referendum, just to have a look at Google Trends and social media to see whether I'm able to make a prediction as to what the outcome's going to be. Whether I'm able to make a prediction as to what the outcome's going to be. So can I, by looking at Google Trends, come up with a number like it's going to be 55 or 57% yes, and then adjust my bet on this on that basis. One of my concerns was about the turnout. The market seemed to feel the turnout is going to be between 65 and 75, which is a nice, healthy turnout. The surprising thing to me, so we can also zoom in a bit more. And at the moment, it's odds on that it's going to be even higher than 52 and a half. That way, it is nice that I do have both 50 to 55 and 55 to 60. So if we end up with a surprisingly high Remain vote, okay, I won't make as much, but I'm kind of covered. And I can look at the 56 and a half level. The market seemed to be very happy with the fact that that's going to be lower than 56 and a half. So, the chance that we're going to end up with a yes of, like that I'll lose my 50 to 55 bet is pretty low. I mean, what else is there here? Oh, yeah, the surprise thing for me was, you've got more detailed bets. So I can bet that Scotland is in favour of staying in the EU. And for that, I get basically nothing, like 2%. Northern Ireland, also very strong, is very likely to vote Remain. Wales is also odds on. 1.4 is a strong. It's going to vote Remain. But the surprise for me was that England is also odds on. 60, 70% probability to vote Remain. So it will be pretty uniform. This expects that it's going to be pretty uniform across the United Kingdom. Like every region, every country is going to vote Remain. I also bet on the stock market, and that didn't work out. So I thought at this stage, I think I was talking about that in the last video, so the trend seems to be down. So I just thought that the market was going to be stressed out right till the referendum, because that's when people are going, oh no, what's going to happen? At the same time, in the last video, I think I was talking about how the market seemed overstretched. The RSI was very low. So there was a danger that the market would want to get back to the moving averages, would spring back from this overly pessimistic state that it was in. So I did have, but yeah, so I lost that bet, but I did have a stop loss to basically limit, so I didn't get exposed. I didn't lose the whole amount, and I had a bigger limit. So that whole way of setting things up, that you have a win-lose ratio, that I could potentially win 2 or 3 times. I think in this case it was double the amount that I could lose. And if you set things up that way, you only need to win 1 in 3 times to break even. So, you've kind of built in some buffer. But this is another bullish sign, as the financial markets are or more of the opinion that we don't have to worry about Brexit. Finally, I was just looking at Bloomberg. Had this interesting article. They have this Brexit likelihood score. So they reckon that the chance of a Brexit is only 37%, and it was higher. So Bloomberg reckon that the chances are we're going to remain, or they're going to, because I'm not in the UK. Why I think this is interesting is because this guy, like their poll tracker, uses, because I was kind of going, why is it the polls are doing so poorly? I mean, how can they be in such disagreement with the betting markets? And how come they've been wrong so much several times? And what this guy did, so this is I'll actually put this, have a copy of this link in the description below the video. What I like about this is, he says that the pollsters are also weighted by their historical performance. Because, anyone can create a poll. I can just ask 3 people and go, oh, 100% of people said exit, something like that. Different pollsters do better or have different quality polls. So if you don't mention the track record, if you don't take that into account, you're treating all pollsters the same. And most not all pollsters are going to be using best practice in taking into account all kinds of, the fact that, have I sampled, is everyone that I sampled all from an area which are very leave, or are from a region where they're very strong? Then, that's not going to be a useful poll. So by actually looking at people's track records and giving more weight to the good pollsters, then the pollster result that you get is more meaningful. And then you can have more confidence in what the polls are saying. So here, using his Or is this the polls or the Brexit tracker? So anyway, the URL's there. You can have a look. What? So basically, it looks like a very standard referendum. I would have expected that the level of fear and panic would be, you'd want to kind of maximize that in the run up, because you won't manage to keep in that highly emotional or highly stressed state for a long period of time. You'll that feeling will explode, and then it'll calm down. So, and that's pretty much it. Um, we'll see what actually happens because, as I've been saying, we can't predict the future, but it seems like a good bet. So fingers crossed.